Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be super fun to kind of do a little story time and tell you guys about when I was 18 and pregnant. Obviously not every teenager goes through teen pregnancy, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to hear my story. And I just wanted to clarify, I am not by any means promoting teen pregnancy in any way. Now, with that being said, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, click the subscribe button down below, and also don't forget to click the bell so you can be notified whenever I upload. Go grab yourself a snack, grab some popcorn, and let's get into it. So, like I mentioned before in my Get to Know Me video, I have a really bad memory. So I have a planner here from when I was pregnant to kind of remind me of all the dates. And I also have pictures in my phone to kind of like jog my memory. Okay, so it all started on September 5th. I was at my boyfriend at the time's house, and I had mentioned that I was a few days late on my period. I didn't really think much of it just because I did track my periods on my phone and they were always kind of like a few days off. It was never exact. So when I mentioned to him that I was like 2 or 3 days late, he thought it would be a good idea just to be safe and to go take a test. And I was kind of just like, no, like it's fine, whatever. So we decided to just go to Walmart and get a test. And I remember when we were driving there, the whole time I just kept saying like, this is so stupid. Like, I know I'm not pregnant. I don't even feel pregnant. I'm just late. Like, it's fine. I'm gonna start my period in a few days. But we went in, we got a few tests, and then we went back to his house. So then we got back to his house, and I remember when I peed on the stick. Normally you have to wait like 2 minutes or so to see any results, and when you're just like a few days late, it's normally just like a very, very subtle line. Yeah, that wasn't really the case. It popped up like within a few seconds, and it was so there. I was kind of just like, and I just remember like sitting there for a minute, didn't really know what to say or do. So I took another one and the same thing happened. Literally 2 lines just right there. I'll insert a picture like right here so you guys can see. It was just, I was pregnant. So then I called him in the bathroom and we were both just freaking out. So he called his mom, and at first she thought it was like a complete prank. I just remember her saying, "Are you guys pranking me?" She wasn't really ever mad just because she's not very strict. But yeah, I think she was pretty happy. I was mostly freaking out just because I really didn't want to tell my mom. I knew she'd be really upset with me and I just wasn't prepared for it. So I went home and I ended up telling her like a few days later. I went into her room and I was just like, "Mom, I have to tell you something." And the craziest thing happened. Did not expect this at all, but she goes, "What, you're pregnant?" And I was like, "Wait, what? How'd you know?" And she said she could just tell by like my face, the way I asked to talk to her. Moms just know everything. And she surprisingly wasn't mad, just because in our family we don't believe in abortion and adoption would never really be an option for me. So it was kind of just like, okay, well, we have no other way out, we're doing this. And then fast forward to 2 weeks later, I was on my way over to my ex's house. And I just remember on the way there, there was like this guy. He was driving next to me and he had super bad road rage. He tried to like push me off the road. He was screaming at me out his window, like flipping me off. And it just like really freaked me out and shook me up. So then once I got to his house, I was shaking and I told him all about it. And then I went to the bathroom and I just remember I had like, it wasn't a ton, but I had a little bit of blood. But then I started crying, I started freaking out, and I called him in the room and he was freaking out too. So we decided to call my mom, and she told us that she would meet us at the ER. We headed over to the ER and I still wasn't bleeding like a ton, but I was definitely bleeding. And then we had to wait in the waiting room for like, I believe like an hour or so. And I remember like I went to the bathroom and I just started bleeding more and more. And it got scarier and scarier because at that point I kind of just knew that I was having a miscarriage. So we got back into the room and they pretty much told me that I was having a miscarriage. They wanted to draw some blood just so they could see how far along I was and how high my hormone level was. I don't know if any of you guys know this, but as soon as you miss your period, they automatically count it as 4 weeks pregnant because they go back to your last menstrual cycle. So automatically you're just 4 weeks, and this was 2 weeks later. So they counted me as 6 weeks pregnant. And for being 6 weeks pregnant, my hormone level was actually extremely low, so it was pretty obvious that I was miscarrying. They told me they wanted me to go get more blood work in a few days just to see if the hormone level dropped more or went up. So I went and got more blood drawn, and it dropped even more. It was really sad and really hard for us. But I did lose my first baby. Now, fast forwarding to October 19th, I missed my period again. And once again, didn't really think much of it just because it was just a few weeks ago I had a miscarriage. So I just figured my hormone level was off and I didn't really expect to start right away. But I was like 2 or 3 days late again. So I figured, just to be safe, I would take another pregnancy test. Well, same thing happened. Not even a few seconds later, I had 2 extremely positive lines. And yes, this was just a few weeks after the miscarriage. I literally got pregnant probably a few days after it all happened, which is just crazy. So this time I wasn't really scared for the same reasons as last, because I kind of prepared myself that I was going to have a baby. I was mostly just scared to miscarry again. Overall, I was actually pretty excited. I remember I called my boyfriend at the time and I was like, hey, guess what? I'm pregnant again. And he thought I was pranking him just like his mom did, but yeah, nope. And this time I didn't wait to tell my mom. I went right into her room and showed her the test, and I was like, okay, we're doing this again. I honestly feel like she was more shocked this time, but she was kind of just like, okay, well, let's do this. So then at about 6 weeks or so, I became really sick. I had the worst morning sickness, midday sickness, night sickness. It was bad. I literally threw up all day, every day, like, no. Fast forwarding again to a few weeks later, I was 11 weeks, I believe. Me and my boyfriend at the time decided to break up. We had a very unhealthy, toxic relationship. I don't really want to get into it too much just because it's kind of private, but it just wasn't good. So we just decided to go our own separate ways. A few weeks later, on December 27th, it was the day that we got to find out if we were having a boy or a girl. I was only 14 weeks, but we went to a place where they do like a 3D ultrasound and they can tell you super early. So my ex met up with me and it was kind of awkward because we didn't talk for like several weeks, but he really wanted to be there for the gender, and it was a boy, as you guys know. So after they told us it was a boy, they gave us like a cute little monkey with his heartbeat in it. We decided to go to Walmart to get like a few things so we can announce the gender in a cute way. I'll also enter a picture so you can see how I announced it. I really wanted to do like a big gender reveal, but since we weren't together and things were just kind of awkward, we figured it was best to just kind of do it together. I would really love to have a big gender reveal for my next baby though. And then the next day was a really hard day for me. Well, pretty much every day was a hard day just because I couldn't keep anything down, but this specific day was extra hard. At the time I worked at Hobby Lobby. I was a cashier and I was always calling in and I was always coming in really late just because I couldn't stop throwing up. And my boss was actually like super chill. He understood that I was pregnant and really sick. So I called him and I was like, hey, I can't stop throwing up. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to be a few hours late, or even just an hour or whatever. He was like, hey, that's fine. Like, just take your time and come in when you can. So I showed up to work and I remember I was at my register and I was just feeling so nauseous. So I went to the break room and the doctor told me that Coca-Cola like helps nausea, which it didn't really help me. but I went to the break room, bought a Coke, and I went back to my register. And okay, so this is like super embarrassing, but I was checking out a customer and I remember gagging just because like I was so nauseous. And I remember them asking me if I was okay, and I thought they were just asking me that because like I just gagged in front of them. But I guess they said that my eyes were actually rolling into the back of my head. Next thing you know, I woke up on the ground with everyone picking me up. I had passed out and fallen into like one of those handheld baskets, completely smushed it, and I hit my head on the counter. Some people say that it sounded like furniture dropped from across the store, so you know, that's cool. They called an ambulance and took me out like on a gurney and put me in the truck. I didn't actually go to the hospital. They just took my vitals and I told them that I was pregnant. Good thing I had mentioned it literally the day before, or everyone would have been so confused, like why is this girl passing out? But they all knew I was pregnant, so that was kind of good timing. So yeah, everything was good, and my mom came and picked me up, and my boss told me that I could have like 2 weeks off or whatever just so I could rest and come back when I was feeling a little better. 2 weeks passed. I was still super sick, but I came in anyway just because I needed to keep my job. I was in and out of the hospital my entire pregnancy. I don't really know all the dates. I just know that I was in like 6 or 7 times from dehydration just because I couldn't keep anything down. So I was literally on bed rest. Like it was so bad. And then once I was about, I believe 20 weeks pregnant, so halfway through my pregnancy, I went into the hospital, one of those times that I mentioned, and I was actually having really bad contractions. Turns out I was having those contractions from dehydration, like I mentioned. So they gave me some fluids and stopped my contractions because you don't want to have a baby at 20 weeks. So on May 21st, a month before I gave birth, I had my baby shower. It was a super fun day. My best friend didn't get to be there, so that really sucked, but I had a lot of family and friends there, so that was really nice. So then June came and I was just preparing for a baby. I knew he'd be here any day. And a week before I went into labor, I started having contractions. I wasn't sure if they were just Braxton Hicks or what. They were like 4 or 5 minutes apart and never really went away. So yeah, that happened for, I believe, a week. Then on June 19th, I actually went into labor. My contractions just were a little bit stronger and they went to about like 3 minutes apart. And this was actually really funny. I went and told my mom, okay, I think it's time to go in. And this girl says she needed to straighten her hair. I'm like, okay, mom, I'm having contractions, like we need to go to the hospital. She's had 5 babies, so she knows that it takes a long time, and she knew she had time to like get ready and stuff, but I just thought it was so irritating. I was like, mom, come on. She definitely had a lot of nerve because I was in a lot of pain and needed to get to the hospital. So then we got to the hospital and I actually labored all night, the whole 12 hours I believe, and I did get the epidural, but I had some serious problems with it, and this is where it all went wrong again. So I was super nervous because, I mean, it's a needle literally like this big going into your spine. Why wouldn't anyone be nervous? But I guess the guy that did my epidural said I jumped a little bit when he put it in. I don't really remember moving at all. I don't know. I don't really know. But the guy just told me that I moved and he created a large hole in my spine. So by this point, I was leaking spinal fluid and they told me that I was gonna have to get a spinal tap. I really didn't know what that meant until later, which I will get to. So not only did I get a huge hole in my spine, my blood pressure, I think, dropped and my heart was racing super fast. So they gave me some kind of medicine just to like calm everything down. So then I was like 8 centimeters dilated and my water finally broke. Right after that happened, I started having a really bad allergic reaction, just what I needed. So I was like getting super itchy and I felt like I couldn't like breathe very well, like my chest was tight. So they gave me some Benadryl, which is Not what you need when you're about to push out a baby. I needed some like freaking coffee, not Benadryl. At this point, I think it was like 10 or 11 hours into the labor process. I was up all night. I was exhausted. I did not need Benadryl. So like an hour later, the doctor came in and told me it was time to push. So at this point, I was literally half dead. Like I couldn't keep my eyes open and I was not ready to push at all. But I didn't really have a choice. It was just crazy and horrible, and I don't know if I want any more. Just kidding. I want like a lot more, but it was bad. So then on June 20th, 2017, I had my sweet baby boy, Liam Josiah. It was a crazy long pregnancy and a really long labor, but it was definitely all worth it. Me and the father never did work things out, and that is honestly for the best. He was there for the birth, but he hasn't been there much since. He's probably seen Liam like maybe 10 times and he's almost 2, so that's kind of sad. I am super proud of myself, honestly, because it's really hard to take care of a kid by yourself. And yeah, that is my pregnancy story. If you stayed this long, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, click the notification bell, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!